A staggering $6 billion. That is the estimated cost of Miami Worldcenter, a 27-acre mega development that is reshaping the heart of downtown Miami, with new towers rising, sprawling public spaces being carved out, and an ambitious urban design that attempts to redefine what Miami's core looks like. The project is considered one of the largest privately funded developments anywhere in the United States. When fully built, it is expected to bring more than 10,000 new housing units and hundreds of thousands of square feet of retail space. The journey has not been without delays, legal wrangling, and stalled projects. Yet one block at a time, Miami Worldcenter is steadily taking shape and emerging as the city's latest urban hub. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to walk through the site, observing both the progress and the challenges firsthand, gaining insight into the scale of transformation underway in one of America's most rapidly evolving cities. To truly appreciate what is happening now, it is important to look back more than 2 decades. In March of 2003, a real estate tycoon by the name of Art Falcone made what seemed like an unusual purchase. He acquired a modest 1-acre parcel at the corner of Northeast 1st Avenue and 10th Street. At the time, this area lagged behind the construction booms that had already transformed nearby neighborhoods such as Brickell and the Biscayne Boulevard corridor. Where cranes and high-rises had been popping up elsewhere, this section of downtown remained relatively stagnant, dotted with parking lots, warehouses, and low-rise commercial buildings. Yet Falcone had a vision that few others recognized. He imagined a vibrant, walkable, transit-oriented neighborhood that could serve as the kind of urban core Miami had long lacked compared with global cities like New York, London, or Tokyo. That small purchase in 2003 set in motion what would become Miami's largest private land assembly in modern times. The effort expanded further in June 2006 when another developer with deep connections to Miami joined Falcone. Together, they formed a partnership under the banner of Miami Worldcenter Associates. Their mission was bold. Piece by piece, they would buy up parcels across the neglected area until they could assemble a vast site large enough to execute their ambitious plans. Over the course of the next 8 years, the group quietly and systematically acquired more than 140 separate properties. These ranged from surface parking lots and aging warehouses to scattered vacant plots and underutilized low-rise buildings. In total, they dealt with roughly 40 different sellers, knitting together what would eventually become a contiguous 27-acre development site in the middle of downtown Miami. By 2011, the scale of their ambition demanded outside capital and expertise, so Los Angeles-based CIM Group came on board as both financier and co-developer. After years of preparation and land acquisition, the team secured final zoning approval for their master plan in late 2014. By then, almost all the land had been assembled, and the stage was set for Miami Worldcenter to begin physically rising from the ground. The first tangible signs of construction came with 2 major residential towers. Paramount Miami Worldcenter, standing 700 feet tall, began construction in 2016 and topped out in 2018. With 569 condominium units ranging from compact studios to sprawling penthouses, the tower leaned heavily into the luxury market. It featured extravagant amenities, including resort-style pools, tennis courts, indoor basketball courts, golf simulators, and even a rooftop skyport designed with the possibility of future air taxi service in mind. The concept catered as much to wealthy international buyers and investors as it did to locals. Indeed, by early 2019, more than 85% of units had been pre-sold, with a significant share going to out-of-state and foreign purchasers. At the same time, another project was unfolding, Caoba Tower, which climbed to 445 feet and was topped out by the summer of 2018. Unlike Paramount, Caoba was designed as a market-rate rental tower with over 400 apartments intended to appeal to families and younger professionals. By the end of 2018, occupancy had already reached 84%, suggesting strong demand for rental housing in the area. A second Caoba Tower, essentially a twin, was approved in 2019, broke ground in 2023, and is expected to deliver another 400 units by late 2025. The following years ushered in what the developers dubbed Phase 2, which introduced a new wave of towers. In 2022, the Bezel Tower opened at 493 feet, bringing more than 400 furnished luxury rentals to the market. With rooftop pools, fitness centers, and a wide range of upscale amenities, Bezel quickly filled up, reaching 90% occupancy before the year ended. Another striking addition, Miami World Tower 1, distinguished by its curving balconies, opened in 2024, offering yet another set of high-rise rental options. One of the most highly anticipated projects within the complex was the Legacy Hotel and Residences, a 680-foot tower combining condominiums, hotel accommodations, and even a 10-story medical center built around a public plaza. The tower broke ground in 2021, but soon became mired in problems. Construction halted in early 2024 after mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems were improperly installed due to poorly coordinated changes to the floor plans. Funding issues followed quickly. Silverstein Capital Partners pulled financing, and although Monarch Alternative Capital later stepped in, they filed for foreclosure in July 2025, alleging missed payments and contractor liens. The developer in turn filed a counterclaim, accusing Monarch of acting in bad faith. With legal disputes ongoing, the once promising project remains frozen at only 16 of its planned 50 floors, serving as a cautionary tale within an otherwise booming development. Despite these setbacks, progress across other parts of Miami Worldcenter has continued. The Crosby, a 33-story condo tower with 450 units, began its foundation work in 2024 and aims to finish by 2026. Another significant project, 600 Miami Worldcenter, is already well into its construction phase. Additional Miami World towers are in various stages of review and planning, with still more towers from developers such as Naftali Group, Abbey Capital, and Whitco Group slated for the coming years. Although a proposed Marriott Marquis Convention Hotel was scrapped early in the planning process, the pipeline of residential and mixed-use high-rises remains strong. Yet towers alone do not define Miami Worldcenter. The developers envisioned an environment where retail and public space play just as central a role. The project includes about 300,000 square feet of open-air retail combined with 100,000 square feet of public realm. The western portion of the complex is anchored by Bloomingdale's Outlet and surrounded by flagship stores such as Apple and Lucid Motors. On the eastern side, a full-line Macy's is planned alongside additional retail outlets. These spaces are designed not only to serve residents within the towers, but also to attract visitors and shoppers from across Miami. It is worth noting that Miami Worldcenter associates did not hold on to every parcel they acquired. Once the overall master plan was approved, the group sold off various pieces of land to different developers, who then carried out their own projects in line with the overarching framework. This explains why so many towers in the district are associated with different developers, even though they all fit neatly into a unified plan. Looking at the project's broader impact, the numbers are striking. At full completion, Miami Worldcenter is expected to contribute around 11,000 new residential units. By itself, that might not sound groundbreaking, but put into perspective, the city of Miami had about 212,000 total housing units, according to the 2020 U.S. Census. This means that a single development on just 27 acres will add more than 5% to the entire city's housing stock. The scale of this increase makes Miami Worldcenter a significant player in the city's ongoing housing story. But while the sheer number of new units could suggest relief for Miami's housing shortage, the reality is more nuanced. Most of the residences being built within the project are luxury condos or upscale rentals, packed with amenities and priced well beyond the reach of most middle-income households. Instead of creating broadly affordable housing, the development risks exacerbating pressures on the market by pushing up surrounding property values. Even middle and upper middle-class residents may find that the type of units being added, luxury condominiums aimed at investors, wealthy retirees, and corporate renters, do not match their needs. For some, the massive supply increase may help indirectly, but for many others, it simply reinforces Miami's tilt toward high-end real estate. Where Miami Worldcenter shines most is in its integration with public transportation, something rare for large-scale developments in the United States. The project sits only a block from Brightline's Miami Central Station, which opened in 2018 and now connects the city directly to Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Orlando. In addition, the Omni Loop of Miami's Metromover system runs directly through the district, linking it seamlessly to hubs like Brickell, Bayside, and other downtown destinations. This emphasis on transit-oriented design aligns with the original vision Falcone had back in 2003 and gives Miami Worldcenter a potential advantage over other luxury-driven developments that remain largely car-dependent.